1. We are live. All right, it's currently 12:52 Friday on May 19th, and we're recording this episode, and it's launching same day, guys. We are staying up late to get you this episode so that you have the open spoiler discussions for everybody seeing Fast 10 this weekend. So you better be appreciative of it, because RIP my sleeping schedule, RIP Miguel's sleeping schedule,
Yeah. I
because
mean, it's okay. I've stayed up longer nights for reasons.
and this
Uh and this,
and
yeah.
this.
I remember it, like, it's fine. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about this because
Meet. I'm very
this is
excited.
fresh off movie theater vibes. The intensity is high. Uh this movie
So,
um
as always, this is a special episode. This is 117, I think, episode 117
it
of
is.
Our Real Addiction. This is the open spoiler discussion of Fast 10, your seatbelts. And as always, the first 10 to 15 minutes roughly are going to be non-spoilers. Really, it is going to be our initial thoughts and kind of what the projected box office is, and initial responses to how we felt the cast did within this film, between the chemistry within one another. First things first, though. Before we even get anything, how was your theater experience?
I was one of, I want to say, 10 people in that movie theater.
Okay.
I saw it. I unfortunately didn't see it in IMAX. I thought it was going to be running too late. So I ended up just seeing it regular. But for those who can see it in IMAX, see it in IMAX. I do recommend it because I feel like there's some sequences in this movie that would have looked better. However, seeing it on just regular digital was as fun and entertaining and exciting as the first run. So I had a really good time with it. There's laughs. I was laughing. Other people were laughing. Um, and I made it just in time because I left work around 6 and my actually, yeah, I left work around 5:55 and my showing started at 6. So I caught the Five Nights at Freddy's trailer and I think one more before it starting completely. So I was luckily I made it on time. But
Nice.
I had a good time. So far everyone had a good time, I think. I personally think so. How was
Nice.
your theater experience?
So mine was interesting. I sent you the snap. So first things first, I made it. I didn't catch any trailers. I walked in on We Come to This Land and blah blah blah, where Nicole Kidman does that useless trailer before
Don't
explaining
call
the
it
ends.
useless. It's
No, I'm
an
gonna be honest. I'm
advertisement
gonna
God sent creation that we need a sequel to. Thank you.
I'm going to be honest. When they were selling the merch, I wanted the sweater. I wanted the sweater, but if for our what you call it, they did the countdown, the IMAX countdown, and they started playing Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So it was pretty funny because everybody was like, "What?" Like, and then obviously it was a good time. I feel like it pumped up the crowd a lot more
Do you
because
think
of
it
the.
was on purpose?
No, 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 no. So the way it works now is obviously nothing's on film anymore. Um, they're on hard drives. So sometimes every now and then they forget to switch out the hard drive, or they get sent to bad hard drive. So they'll have to go and take a hard drive from another theater, maybe with a later showing. So they said like, oh yeah, we just got to switch out the hard drives or something like that, along the lines of that, and it should be up and running in 5 to 10 minutes. Cool for them is that they skipped all the trailers, because a lot of the times when they plop it in, they kind of just started from the beginning. You have to watch like 25 minutes worth of trailers again. So I'm kind of glad I skipped all of that. But overall, my theater experience was good. I enjoyed it. A lot of reactions to the crazy stuff in this film in terms of stunts, because Fast and Furious is obviously now known for its notorious and crazy stunts.
Yes, which
Uh,
by the way, let's give a credit because I wanted to Google this. The stunt coordinator,
mhm.
because I had to give him props. And his name is Andy Gill.
Okay.
His stunts, yeah. And then as well, hang on, I have a couple more. So there is 161 people on these stunts. But just to name a few, if you guys want to check them out, everything's on IMDb. Everyone's credited, of course. And obviously, if you stick around for credits, you'll see the whole list roster of stunt work and amazing um, actors and actresses and people who will spend their time to make this movie. But the coordinator is Andy Gill. So props to him and thank you for putting us through a very entertaining experience, at least for myself.
I very much enjoyed this film. Obviously, we're going to get into it. I'll go ahead and read out the projected box office numbers. This is by Rebecca Rubin from Variety.com. She came out with an article yesterday, early on, well, the day of release, Thursday of release, and it says box office for Fast X targets 60 million debut in North America and 280 million dollars globally. Fast X, the 10th installment in Universal's high octane franchise, is revving up to lead global box office charts. The movie is projected to open to $6 million or more dollars in North America and at least 220 million in the international box office. Based on those estimates, Fast X is looking to capture 280 million worldwide in its first weekend release. In terms of domestic box office projections, a soft start around 60 million is below the latest entries in 2001's Fast 9: The Fast Saga, which kicked off with a $70 million to $70 million and ended with its theatrical run of 73 million in North America. And they went on to go and state that was at a time when COVID era restrictions were meant only 80% of theaters were open and attendance hadn't rebounded. So obviously it's looking at under a $300 million opening globally, box office open for globally, which is pretty interesting. I think it's kind of safe to say that people are kind of just getting off, like, they've accepted the franchise is kind of dead, but those still watching are still appreciating it for what it is.
I think the previous installment was the one that kind of turned people off or turned people away from the franchise completely. From what I think is a common knowledge, people have already admitted that the franchise has become silly and non. Uh, I guess I mean for myself, it's not like keeping losing the plot basically, but here it is. And you know what? I think this one with the new writers involved um has brought back elements of the previous films, and I think you said it best as well, where you felt like it had strong standpoints from like seven, where you feel like it was probably one of the better versions of the franchise. Starting obviously from I think four to seven.
The first five are absolutely solid. Uh, and
Yeah,
then
I
when
remember Fast Five being like
that's the revival.
yeah, that's definitely kicking into gear. Like, hey, what if these guys are just more than drivers? And
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious because during a scene between Brie Larson's character Tess and Alan Richardson Ames, who fun facts plays a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle in the live action produced by Michael Bay. And he
Oh my
actually plays.
goodness.
Yeah, he does. I Googled it. I mean, I IMDb'd it. I was like, why does this guy look so familiar? He was also in the Hunger Games. He is in Titans, the TV series on HBO. But he's in Jesus, where is it? He's Raphael.
Oh well, thank you for all that informative and correct information there.
No, of course.
Yeah.
But
Um,
what I'm saying is there is a line shared between them, and they're like kind of recapping the franchise in itself and being like, "Look,
it's a really fun moment.
it is. It's like showing scenes. And it's like, and then you think about it, and you're like, how did they capture those scenes? Obviously, those were filmed to like show in the movie, but realistically, when you try to put thought and like common reality to it, you're like, how do they get those moments caught on camera? Like, how have they always been around? But it's
it's
hilarious, and
obviously just film footage, which is the
it's
best part about it.
Yeah, which is like it's basically saying like we get it, we know we're like they even say they've even defied gravity twice. They this team who went from local street rat racers basically
Yeah.
to now working for the FBI and the CIA, you know, they've gone pro and now it's time to punish them or whatever. Um,
We obviously mentioned spoilers at the beginning. I don't think those are major spoilers.
they're just basically being they're recapping the
Well,
franchise.
not only that, but it's self awareness. It's almost it became meta at that point that it's very
Yeah.
self aware. Really quickly before I even forget, do you have your cards with you that they gave us?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They give you at the beginning of the film. I was expecting a poster, I'm not gonna lie. I was
Yes, I
hoping for a
think the
poster.
poster is cool, but I think these are also cool too.
Did you open yours
I
yet?
have an open mind. I have an open mind.
Oh,
Who'd you get though?
I opened mine and
Go
I
ahead.
want to show you guys.
Yeah, go ahead. So show it on your
Because
camera
yeah,
so that we can see it.
I was very excited. It actually we did get posters, but they're actually mini posters. So I'll show you guys. I hope here. Now we got I know you can't see them, but it's
I
John
just got it.
Cena.
That went over my head. That went over my head. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, Jason Statham, which is great. I think I might frame that one. And then we got Natalie Emanuel, who plays Ramsey, which remind me because I forget, was she in the last one?
Yeah,
Because
so
when I
she's been
was
in the
like,
last two, I believe.
she's in the last two. Okay, because I
Yeah.
was like,
This
when
is
did
her
she come
third
into
film.
play? When did she come into play? I was like, and we have Charlize Theron as Cypher. She looks amazing with that wet hair. Um, Hilarious. And then MVP from my card stack, Michelle Rodriguez as Letty. So,
Letty!
Letty, Letty, you've been dead. Where were you, Letty?
Letty!
Oh, Dad,
Okay.
they brainwashed me. I don't know who I am. I don't know what familia
This is
means.
what this podcast has resolved to. All right, I'm trying to not ruin the wrapper.
I cut it with scissors because I wanted to put the cards back and like have
Okay.
them safe. But at this
So
point, I think I lost the wrapper.
so I
Oh, let me
got
see.
I got Jordana Brewster who plays Mia,
Yes. Oh,
and then
nice.
I got Ludacris who obviously
Luda.
plays what the heck's his name in this?
His name is Tej.
There you go, Tez. There you go. Oh yeah, yeah,
Tej.
Tez, the mechanic who was who was hosting illegal street racing, and then learned out that he can hack into the Pentagon.
And can
Awesome.
also now learn about quantum tech,
Oh yeah, yeah. I also
which
did
is
get
confirming that the next movie of the Fast and the Furious is entering the quantum zone.
Quantum
It,
Realm. They're gonna go
yeah,
see Ant-Man. I also got Jason Statham as one of the Shaw brothers, and I
nice.
got Tyrese Gibson, and I think this is Ramsey. Yeah, this is Ramsey. So I don't know her name. I don't remember her name already.
Ramsey, yeah, Natalie Emmanuel.
Yeah, so hey, pretty cool. I honestly I appreciate these. I appreciate these. This isn't something they normally do, so
Yeah,
I can get behind this.
I
Considering
like
this
this.
is
At
like
first, I thought they were trading cards, and
me
I
too.
got an extra pack for a friend of mine who is a big apparently Fast and Furious fanatic. His name is Maurice. Shout out to Maurice, which by the way, I will be uploading a segment on a review between the two of us. Just kind of like a follow up, early thoughts, little fun things to talk about with him because apparently he has more knowledge of this franchise, and I feel like it's something that you guys could probably enjoy as well.
Do you want to
But
do that as a separate video?
that's going to be a separate video for sure. It might be a shorter one too,
No, that's cool.
but
That's
we'll see.
cool. Because
Yeah, well,
originally what I had planned is maybe attaching it to the beginning of the of next week's episode. But if you
uh,
wanted to be a separate thing, I'm cool with that.
yeah, it's separate. It's going to be a separate video
Sounds good to me.
because we're
Sound
still planning the release. Like we're
gotcha.
still planning our days. He's on a camping trip this sometime this week, so he's gonna catch this movie probably tomorrow, today night. I mean, this Friday night or
Mhm.
Sunday night, depending on when he's back.
Yeah.
But
But
shout out to Maurice.
yeah, definitely. Shout out to Maurice. Thank you for coming. Being a part, joining the real family. And getting being a part of the content. That's one thing we really want to. I really want to incorporate again is getting people more involved. In some way, shape, or form. But moving on, let's get back to Fast and Furious. Miguel, go ahead and tell us your initial thoughts walking out of the theater. If light spoilers, if you can, don't include any.
Well, to be fair and to be frank, I have been bashing this movie since the past couple weeks. I think prior to this,
It's
even
not it's
in
not
the
like it's
beginning,
unwarranted though.
of course, yeah.
You know?
But this is just my, I guess, again, my Merly thoughts. So what I'm saying is, I did say that I basically said I'm going into this movie with no expectations and I'm setting the bar really low. Only because the last one really fell for me. Yeah, as much as like it was nice to bring in a long lost Toretto brother and have John Cena play him, and then also see John Cena in other movies or TV shows and just have him nail those roles, and then seeing him in this and kind of not taking him that seriously, and then apart from the plot too, walking into this one again, like expectations slow, but I was even like kind of like talking to myself and just like don't be too hard on it, just go in and have fun with the movie. And surprisingly, I did. I had an amazing time with this movie. I'm really glad that I'm kind of sad that there wasn't that many people in my movie theater, because I kind of wanted more like of a crowd pleaser moments, because I feel like this movie had those moments and even like kind of unrealistic moments too. But I really enjoyed it. It kept with the plot. It like followed it. It introduced new characters with reason. Of course, there's always ties to family, because I'm beginning to notice now that if it's someone related, if someone's new but has always been there, it's because they're part of a family branch, and that's overall like underlying the theme of
Yeah.
family here. It's if they're dead, it's because, or if someone comes in and it's because they're related to the person that died in this movie, or they're related to this person that is still alive, but now it's like taking revenge or whatever. Um, and I had a fun time. It was fun. It had, dare I say, Infinity War stakes, but at like a B-roll way. Just because of how I felt that there were some characters that basically there's separate storylines happening, and they're all obviously going to meet at the end. Or is it the end? So
It's definitely part one.
yeah, but those are my initial reactions. I had fun with it. I laughed. I was smiling. I was actually entertained for 2 hours and 21 minutes. It's a roller coaster from the very get go. There's never really a dull moment. The stunts are great. There wasn't anything that I thought. Actually, I'm a liar. There was a specific scene that we'll talk about later.
Do you think we'll get to that?
I don't know.
We'll get to that.
I just never know. I hate that saying now. I'm gonna put that on your grave
We'll get to that.
in fine
We'll get
print.
to that.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But do you want to go before I
Yeah.
murder you?
Jeez. But no, like you said, it's just like the film is very action packed. Obviously, for it being 2 hours, 2.5 hours, essentially, I don't want to say you don't really feel it. It's just like because it's overall a good time. It's just like I feel like it feels like they are trying to go back to the foundations of what this franchise was built on. Um, and it's obviously the car, the ground level work. Like you say, the last couple films have been really, really ridiculous, as you would say. It's just like, and that's where a lot of people got out. Were all right, I'm done. And not only that, the unfortunate passing of Paul Walker did not help this franchise one bit. It's just like I think in the last two there was a big hole. And in this one, I feel like you just continue to fill that hole. But that's really besides the point in how I feel about it. Me personally, I said this is the best one since the seventh one. I do believe it is better than 6 and 7. It's not in like the area of like, hey, this is Too Fast, Too Furious area, Fast 5, even Tokyo Drift. Like the first 5 are like in a whole other realm of their own. And then this new like rebirth of the Fast franchise is kind of in its league. I think this is the best one of this revival. If that makes sense. So maybe seven, maybe people won't agree because seven obviously tugs at the heart. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this film start to finish. Again, I feel like they really tried to ground themselves in this film. It's kind of hard to do when they have fought nuclear submarines. They've also been to space. It's a hard thing to kind of accomplish and kind of go back, quote unquote backwards. But I think this is what people have been constantly wanted, and I feel like the film really delivers that in trying to ground this franchise again and bring back the heart and the love that we had for this franchise when it was starting out or before it got really, really ridiculous. Overall, Fast 10, I enjoyed it. I think this is a film I am gonna really make an effort to go see again. I know I've said that about Guardians, but this is a film like I want to see in theaters again, like for sure. I want another.
I'd see it again
experience.
too. I probably want to check it in IMAX to see what I missed out on.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I think we're at the point of official spoilers.
this is official spoiler territory.
Yeah,
Please, if you haven't seen the movie, go check it out and come back on. We're at exactly, I want to say 20 minutes in, so just
yeah.
skip through us. And,
Or if you don't care about spoilers and have more power to you.
If you're not going to see it and you're going to just wait on streaming services, then even better.
Well,
this is the podcast for you.
this is the podcast for you. But Fast 10, a lot goes on. It's the opening scene is immediately again just tugging at the heart of the missing person in this franchise. And it tugs at Brian because the opening is essentially a new and updated intro of believe it's the first one. Yeah, of the first Fast and Furious, where Brian is driving in Dodger Stadium, and they reshoot that with Dom and Little B, and it's a really nice sentiment that this actually. Now that I think about it, it's a little outrageous because this 8-year-old kid is drifting.
That's what I was like. There's no way, and it's not just one, but it's one of many several scenes that you're like, no way, no way in hell you would allow your kid to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't remember that scene. Basically the beginning just takes place as a flashback. It starts off with 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah. It's a retelling of Fast 5. That's right.
It recaps Fast 5, so it tells you who Jason Momoa is playing.
Yeah.
Who plays a character named Dante, who is basically the son of Joaquin de Almeida, who plays Hernan Reyes, who is supposed to be the villain, or is the villain in Fast 5. And that's when they are tackling Rio de Janeiro, and they are basically wreaking havoc through the town and the city of the lovely place, because they have the bank attached to their cars and they're pulling a heist. And in one of those cars on the scene of the bridge, one of those cars gets knocked out, and that's supposed to be Jason Momoa, which is super funny.
Yeah, it's just an Aquaman nod where he's in the water.
They're just like, that car. I felt like my thought process of that whole idea like coming to fruition was them rewatching the series and being like, what if that guy in that car was
his
son to him who just died? Roll the tape. And then
write that down.
Yeah, right. Yeah, seriously. And then there was obviously some editing too, because it goes back. There's obviously that, and then it also goes back to the scene that Adam was describing. Those are several moments that are key that later play a bigger role towards the third and final act.
Yeah. I think first things first, I want to, before we get into any more spoilers, I want to praise Jason Momoa for this role. Because I'm going to be honest, Jason Momoa is kind of rising to that stardom level of being a household Hollywood name. And when you watch the first Fast franchise, this is what I love about Jason Statham, Jason Momoa, and even John Cena. The reason I like them, and even how do you say her name? Theron.
Charlize Theron.
Charlie Theron. This is what I'll praise about them. They know their roles moving forward, being past villains of the franchise. The reason I say that is because they came in and they were like, I'm not gonna try and make the Fast franchise mine. I am here to be in support. I am here to be to fit in, not try and take over the way Dwayne Johnson was. And I think like because like obviously, we'll get into the cameos and we'll get into the heavy spoilers of returning characters. The biggest hole I always felt, and obviously we now know that Johnson is essentially he's an issue when it comes into these films ensemble or when he enters a franchise. He wants to be the main character. Jason Momoa came in and he knew his role and he knew that, hey, I'm coming into a well-established franchise. Let me add to it and not try to make it mine, and let me fit in. Same thing with all the other actors that I have mentioned. Obviously, Cena as Jacob, um, they're on as Cypher, and even Jason Statham as one of the Shaw brothers. They are here to lift up the cast while still being able to shine in their own respected way and not needing the spotlight that The Rock requires. But I don't want to seem it's like I'm bashing on The Rock entirely.
That's an interesting take.
I just really want to mention that because this prove like just like seeing this just goes to show like, yeah, okay, like these are the actors you want. It's just like who want to come in and respect the franchise, not make them there. But again, Jason Momoa as the villain in this film, absolutely amazing. I loved him, and I'm glad he is the so we know the final villain of this family franchise.
I think he's the most thought out and well played villain
Mm-hmm.
so far because he knows who he is up against. I mean,
Yeah,
it's taken him 10 years to get to where he's at. He's literally attacking from in. His whole point is not to kill Dominic Toretto, and he states that his whole point is to make him suffer. Um, and there's a bit of more of a development with him because we learn, even if it's briefly, we learn that he was in a psych ward. He was in and out of penitentiaries. He was always being run around with like the cops. There's a really hilarious scene with him where he's interacting with two dead people and he's voicing them over while he's painting nails on them, and he's very like non-heteronormative, and he's like very funny, and he's kind of a scene stealer without having that ego that Dwayne Johnson has. Which I understand now what you're trying to say, Adam. um and he knows his part. What I'm going to praise him to piggyback off you is how his delivery of his lines and how goofy he is, because as ridiculous of a character he is the most uh he's the most at getting under Dom's skin and his
yeah,
family,
mm-hmm.
where he is actually in fear of losing these people, the family that is like obviously the coin of this franchise. And he's afraid because now there's so much on the line, and it's no longer about Brian. Now he has like everybody, which is why I feel like it feels very Avengers stake, because there are three different plot lines happening at the same time, even though, or at least groups where
Yeah,
and I'm comparing it to like Infinity War because there's like, the Guardians in space with Thor, and then you have Captain America and them in Earth, and then you have RDJ with like Doctor Strange and then Peter Parker in a different world, and they're all split up, but they're all like still battling the same guy, and that's exactly what's going on with this team. And it just goes. There's three incredible action pieces, but just again going back to Jason Momoa, he has like, I don't know if you got this, but it gave me Johnny Depp, but like Jack Sparrow, if the Joker and
I'm glad you bring that up because
Johnny Depp and the Joker had like a love child, and then we had Jason Momoa as Dante.
I'm glad you bring that up because Dom is dressed in all black this entire film, and Jason Momoa's character is very colorful. It felt like it was Batman versus Joker. This is how it felt. I'm also glad that you say it felt very Infinity War because our team was separated, like the Avengers were in Infinity War. I have an article pulled up from Screen Rant that came out in 2021 where it talks about Fast and Furious star Vin Diesel recently said the series 2 planned finale, which is now confirmed or heavily rumored to be 3, was inspired by Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame,
Yes.
which you can feel the inspiration of that again because the team is separated. We know they are building to this classic end, and we know that this is for the most part, Jason Momoa's Dante is going to be the final villain of the hopefully of this franchise. I do hope it does end with them.
Yeah.
There is a scene where Vin Diesel does say we want to pass this generation or this story on to the next generation. I hope that doesn't mean he's like telling the viewers like, hey, like we're gonna continue the Fast franchise, but
But
we're
it's no
all
longer gonna
leaving.
be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really hope that's not the case because at that point it does become a little stale. It's a little different in like the terms of like the MCU because there's all that source material that you can continue on. I don't see how a franchise like this can continue on to be a center focus in Hollywood whilst not having someone like Vin Diesel or Michelle Rodriguez or even Jordana Brewster, and anybody who's come in later on and that's helped, with Tyrese Gibson and Ludacris. It's just like it'd be hard to not see any of them attached to these projects. But it's just like again, I'm really glad that it does that they are trying to copy a film that was successful. Is this film by any means in the same category as Avengers Infinity War? Absolutely not. But you can see the themes, you can feel the inspiration,
Yeah, the
and
stakes are high.
the stakes are
There's
high. The
danger.
stakes are
Yeah.
coming to an end. It feels like it is the end of the road is coming. Like Dom's race is going to end. That's how this film feels. It feels like yes, it's the beginning of this film. I'm gonna be honest. I don't want to see any of these characters die, especially Dom, just because I feel like they all deserve just to like live a peaceful life after everything they've been through. That's just how I kind of personally feel. Maybe you see
Yeah.
things a little differently. Maybe you do want to see some of them die. I don't know if you care to answer that.
I don't think anybody's dead in this franchise.
That's another thing
So
too. That's another thing too.
I like there's like not to jump around,
That's the whole
but
point of this open spoiler discussion, though.
but John Cena does a heroic last stand in a sense to protect his little nephew, little Brian, who's played by Leo Abello Perry.
Little B.
Props to little B. Props to him. I think he did a great job as a child actor. It must
I
be a lot of
agree.
pressure. It must be a lot of pressure being surrounded by that much talent, especially being entered as. Is this his first appearance as little Brian?
No, Little Brian's been in the last 3.
Okay, but it's been him,
I don't
not
know
just like
that.
it's
I'm
not
gonna
like
be honest.
recast.
I
That
don't
because I
know.
don't want to say that he was in it and then not and then yeah. So let me double check just so we're clear. So far he has 5 acting credits, and yeah, Little Brian is one of them. He was also on Blackish, The Big Leap, Cheaper by the Dozen, the remake, and then Beauty and the Beast, the 30th celebration, the TV special because he voiced Chip.
hmm
Um,
One thing I've always admired about the Fast and Furious franchise is that they love to bring back characters that have helped Dom. Like for example, like when Tokyo Drift came out, obviously Han was in it. Han dies at the end of that one. Well, dies. And
quote
then he
unquote.
shows back up in Fast 5. We then
Yeah.
later learned that Fast Tokyo Drift is far after Fast Five, but we do see Luis de Silva return as Diogo. He's in Fast Five. He's the guy hosting the races there. So it's cool to see him come back and kind of bring back a familiarity again, connecting that Fast Five to this. One of my biggest concerns was them revisiting the past again, because that's something Fast and Furious has also always done. They like to go back to the past and kind of disregard a lot of their old projects. They did that with the fourth one, or excuse me, they did that when Letty dies and then she comes back and she's brainwashed, has no recollection of anything. They did that again with Han, and they replaced Tokyo Drift later in the franchise, which again, that's completely that one's kind of fine, just because there's no real description on, or there's no real confirmation of where Tokyo Drift does lie within the franchise when it did come out. But not only that, then they go and they do it with this one again, where they're revisiting the past. Your main villain is also from the past, and you're going and adding more elements to a story that's already been told. So I was a little worrisome, but then again too, Jason Momoa just kind of helped ease that, where it's just like, it's easy to just say, okay, you know what? Because Jason Momoa is doing a fantastic job, I'm kind of going to disregard it, because if I go back and watch Fast Five, I'm not going to see some long-haired dude in the background and be like, oh, he's always been there. He's always been there.
Like they kind of pulled like what was it? Like Spider-Man Far From Home, No Way Home.
Mm-hmm.
And where Jake Gyllenhaal's character was in the seminar that Iron Man was pulling at the beginning of Civil War. And you're like, wait on, hold up. Like when they do that, and it literally just felt like that here.
Yeah.
Where they just kind of zoom in and like, that was that guy, but
you missed him in the background.
Yeah, exactly. Like they gave him reason. And again, it's just because it really just kind of goes back to just being a family tree, of this person. We get a sister, that is a sister to Elena's character.
Yeah. Her sister is
Isabel.
Yeah.
Who is played by Daniela Menquire, who is in the scene, and you'll probably see her in the trailers, who will be driving against Dom and Jason Momoa and Diego.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's just, it is most worrisome, but it's stuck to the point. It's stuck to the plot. They tweaked a couple things, and they even, I think, I was gonna bounce off on you on something that they said about that. Oh geez, what did you say? I just heard it. I was gonna comment because they were aware of it as well too. They were kind of like,
well, they were meta.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So there's a scene where, again, another thing too is what we kind of forget to mention. We do see introduction to new cast. Obviously, Rita Moreno as Abuelita Toretto, Alan Richardson, as you obviously mentioned, as Ames. Brie Larson comes in as the daughter of Mr. Nobody. And then we see returning characters such as Jason Statham, Charlie
Scott
Theron.
Eastwood.
Yeah, Scott
Which
Eastwood. At
honestly
Little
remind me, because so his name is Little Nobody. Is that the brother of Tess then?
They don't really confirm that, but it kind of have to be if they're both children of Mr. Nobody, right?
That's what I'm thinking about, because also I'm like griped on them because there are 3 action pieces here. The first one, the very first one, and I mentioned this to Adam, it's literally they're playing Rocket League in Rome.
Yeah.
They are
I'm surprised you know what that is.
It's a video game.
Yeah. But it's like, it's not like well, you live with Brian, so that makes sense. That makes sense.
But even before that, it's like, it's a big, when I was working at Wingstop, that's all my coworkers played.
Really?
And I remember getting, because they would be like, oh, we're going to go home and play Rocket League.
It's fun.
And I was like, okay. And I was like, what is it? What's like Rocket League? It's like, it's soccer, but with cars.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And then I watched gameplay and I was like, oh my God, this looks intense. But basically, it's pretty cool. Like, it's the cement, like again, Jason Momoa, scene stealer, but without the ego. He's threatening. He 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 goes to say he's all like, "Ooh, we're gonna blow up the cap. We're gonna blow up the Vatican. Who's gonna see the Vatican? God?" Or like he makes a joke of it. And it's like,
No, I
damn,
know what you're
dude.
talking about. He goes like, oh, he's like, should we blow up the Vatican? He's like, and they're like, they say something. He's just like, really, guys? He's like, you guys are going to hell. Like,
Yeah,
and it's just
yeah,
like again, like I can't help but praise Jason Momoa because he complimented the film
very
in the
well.
screen time as opposed to having to take away from our main characters.
Yeah,
He filled in where the cracks of where the main characters couldn't cover the story, which is
he
what
was. Yeah,
he was great. He was great. Again, I'm glad
he was
he.
hard not to like. Like, I
Yes,
mean, he was so likable as a villain, and he was so credible, and he just wanted plain revenge. But he was very smart about it. He frames the team and
yeah,
turns the CIA and the agency that was protecting them against them. So they have to go into hiding. And that's when our conflict splits up, which I like because there is reason as to why they have to go into hiding, which is why they have to be spread apart. Now, Vin Diesel's character, Dominic Toretto, is enemy number one. He is the most wanted on FBI and CIA agencies. And now they have no help. They've also been bankrupt completely. They've been ransacked. They've been used. They used he Dante's character, Jason Momoa's character, hacks into their system, uses their money to hire mercenaries in order to kill little Brian because they know the rendezvous. The whole plot is to them rendezvous so they can all be together again because that's when they're stronger. And that's the cool part about Jason Momoa's character because he knows that when familia's together, they're the best. But when they're apart, he can tear them, he can destroy
yeah.
them. And I mean, the only thing that bothered me from those very beginning scenes, because it basically becomes Dom on his own. Yeah, right. It's basically Dom on his own because he
Yeah,
doesn't have any help,
yeah.
except once he gets to Rio de Janeiro. And then we have John Cena's character Jacob with little Brian, and then we have the team: Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, uh, uh,
Roman. So
yeah,
It's Tez, Ramsey, Roman, and Han.
yeah.
And then
And then we
they
have Michelle Rodriguez who gets locked up after the whole Rome incident because she's unfortunately captured by the police and sent to what looks like freaking Azkaban on steroids. When did we get a high section
that's
police
you know
enforcement in the Antarctica like that? Are you kidding me? And
it's
then they have
funny.
lasers that can heal humans. What? I want to live in this world.
So
Not gonna lie to you.
it kind of feels like the writers are very aware of like the theories regarding Antarctica. Have you ever heard about the theories of Antarctica? How
No,
it's
no, no,
not
no. Please
actually
enlighten
there.
me.
That's not like in our Antarctica exists, but it's like you get there, and the reason we can't go to Antarctica is because there's a bunch of experiments, and there's a rumor that the Germans found aliens there in World War II, and there's all this like high tech over there that would help human civilization for the good or for the bad based on how you use it. There's also rumors that that's where Amelia Earhart really disappeared to, and she essentially found the aliens. And apparently within these theories theorized, or the theorists that theorize the theories on Antarctica, that's a tongue twister, that the
Say
theorists
that 3 times.
the theorists that theorize the theories on um the people who make up these theories on Antarctica, they say that's where Amelia Earhart really disappeared to. There's actually a big giant hole that leads to the center. I've fallen down the rabbit hole too many times, as you can tell.
Thank you. I'm
So
gonna watch this on Watch Mojo
no,
later.
it's
No
really
paid
interesting
partnership.
stuff. Welcome to WatchMojo.com. But no, there's all that theory. So I love that they kind of play into that fact that there's stuff actually going on Antarctica, because it kind of feels like that. It feels like
I
there's
also love how they're
alien
like
tech.
location unknown, and you're like, what?
Yeah, and
And
it's
then
later
also
revealed that.
too, yeah, there's a whole scene between Dominic and Taz, Brie Larson's character, where Dominic's like, "You need to get Letty out of prison," and she's like, "I can't not do that. Like, I literally can't do that." And then she goes and does it,
Yeah.
and like some way somehow, so then we have Charlize Theron with Letty, which is an unlikely pairing, but it's actually very, very, very good for screen time.
Hmm.
Um, because we get a really good coordinated stunt work there between the two of them. They
It,
killed it.
they worked together really really well, which obviously they have chemistry together.
Yeah.
And that really, I feel like from pen to the screen really really worked. Again, just really
Yeah.
really well.
It's outrageous. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous. And the reason why Cypher is in jail, because in the last film she wasn't, Jason Momoa actually turns her team against her
yeah.
in a sense where in a crazy fashion, he's a like,
We
oh, he goes her first line, I think, is well, she first looks for Dom, and thinking that because of all the high stakes, they wouldn't be smack and center in downtown Los Angeles, but
yeah
they are. Uh, so she reaches them and she's like, "The devil's coming for you because he came for me.
yeah.
My enemy is now your enemy. What are we gonna do? This is my warning." She's basically cut up and beaten, and then she gets taken to jail to a high state. So there's that. So then that's their pairing, and they're all trying to get back. And then the CIA, the agency now, uh, who is now directed by Alan Richardson, who plays Ames. Who, dude, the guy got so like jacked. I'm
Yeah,
like, is it steroids? I don't want to
it's
assume. I'm
got
sorry,
to
but
I feel
like,
like it's got to be.
dude, like, who, what body trainer? Because I feel like it's a physique. But for example, like Chris Evans doesn't look like that. And
Well,
compared
Chris Evans
to
just
like,
natural.
yeah, I think
Uh,
that's without steroids, but who knows,
he
Um,
I feel like he's on some sort of like enhancing performance drug in all honesty.
because his face just looks like I remember a friend of mine telling me he's like if someone looks like they're on steroids or is taking steroids or is possibly on testosterone or whatever, you gotta just look at their traps or I'm not the traps,
Their
their
shoulders.
shoulder blades, and you're
Okay.
like, and if they look like bulkier than like normal, they're on steroids,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, but that's besides the point. He looks great. I mean, he's a very handsome guy, but is he
Turn
is also kind of like the big bad in the sense where he's like
It's
trying to
revealed
get
at the
Dominic
end.
Toretto.
Yeah.
And then there's the twist that
Oh.
he's actually been the bad this entire
He's one
time
of them.
and is part of Dante's plan to take down the Toretto family.
I want to mention a couple things. I love that Cypher was driving the new DeLorean. Uh,
Yeah, that was
it was
badass.
super freaking cool. I love that they gave it to her and it wasn't just kind of wasted because I feel like for someone like the character of Cypher, kind of makes sense. I also love that they gave Roman a golden Lamborghini. Uh, because it was absolutely ridiculous, but it's something that is just completely within his character. And
Roman.
I'm gonna be honest. A golden Lamborghini is something I would own. Like legitimately.
Really?
Yeah, like, that is something stupid that I would own. I kind of want to shift gears a little bit. And
Oh, was that a pun?
oh, I didn't. No pun intended.
That was a pun,
It
but it
was.
wasn't intentional.
Yeah, that kind of just rolled off the tongue, but perfect
And
timing,
then kick
obviously.
it into overdrive.
Yeah.
Switching the turbo.
Yeah. No. Again, watching these films since Seven, there's a big hole. And you feel it again. It's just like
Brian.
because yeah, exactly. It's Paul Walker's character is Brian. Um, it's hard to believe that he wouldn't be on any of these missions, regardless of him having a kid.
That's one
Uh,
of my biggest issues too, because at the very beginning of the scene, they're basically having a cookout, and I don't know
they
what
left the
Mexican family
chair. Yeah, they left the chair on purpose.
like, dude. You have to go to the cookout. You gotta
So
be there. There's no reason why you're not there, especially if Abuelita's there.
yeah.
If Rita Moreno is gonna be there, you better be there too. That's the only gripe I'm keep having with this movie. And at this point, I think after seeing this, I'm like, please just have him CGI'd. Which
I think the early or the easiest explanation is that oh well he was on his way at that scene. The easy way to just kind of like say he still exists within this franchise. We're just not gonna not really see him anymore.
can I
Um,
theorize something?
we'll see him again. I think he'll be in the last one.
Yeah, but okay, so uh Jordana Brewster's character just falls off. Like they just completely don't even bring her up again. and she's not even at the rendezvous. Jacob, John Cena tells her, "You need to leave,"
And that's kind
and
of
she
just go to
does.
Brian. Yeah.
And like, does she go to Brian? And then same thing happens with Scott Eastwood, Little Nobody. He just falls off after Rome. Where did he go?
Yeah.
So my theory is that the people that weren't like kind of just written off are this is how if this is really part one and then there's part two, which is going to be the concluding chapter.
Well, there's rumor to be a third one. So
Well, I thought this was the beginning of the trilogy,
yeah.
of the finale trilogy. So this is
The next
basically
one would
part one,
essentially,
and then it's part two, and then part three.
yeah. So this is A New Hope. The next one's Empire, and then the last one would be Return of the Jedi.
Exactly. So for Empire Strikes Back, it's bigger stakes, but we don't know where Dom and Lil B are. Probably confirmed dead, or maybe confirmed dead by Dante.
Presumed dead.
Assume presumed dead
Yeah.
because this movie ends with a cliffhanger. Um,
It's gonna pick right back up right there.
I feel like it might, or it might pick up with Mia. Where has Mia been? Pick up with Mia, introduce Brian, go there. Jason Statham
I don't. The only thing I think
was
is it's like,
also written like not like he was in a scene. He was there. He was present. But now Ellen Mirren, who plays his mother, Queenie, is also being targeted by Dante. So now she's in the kill list as well. Because
yeah,
Dante is literally going to everybody. And now my point goes back to what you were mentioning. Dante even knows he's like, just because you've been helped out, for example, for Ames, just because you're helped out, you're suddenly part of the familia. No, sorry. Not everybody can be your familia.
yeah.
Is what Ames ends up doing and just double crossing Dom.
Hmm.
Because there's a scene where they help each other out, and then he's like, actually, I've been with the bad guy. My money is with him.
Hmm.
So it's like also being like, hey, just because we've been bad guys before, like Jason Statham and John Cena, and even previous not dead, uh, doesn't mean that they can just join and team up forces and forgive and forget over cookouts, which is
Uh,
something that I did like. But
yeah.
my theory concluding it is that it's going to start off with that, have the second one be like kind of like tying up loose ends, and then having The Rock, Dwayne Johnson come back. God
Well,
damn
we
it.
get the cameo. We it's official. He's back in. I was gonna say in the MCU.
Johnson. Dwayne
Dwayne
The
The Rock
Rock Johnson
Johnson.
will return.
Yeah.
That's it, though.
So
That's
the
it.
character
Just
Hobbs
Dwayne
is confirmed to return. He's back. And he's being
Hobbs
targeted.
and Jason Statham are going to team up. They're going to be like Hobbs and Shaw Part Two, but
Let's hope
in the
not.
Fast and Furious. And then things are going to go wrong with them too. And then by the end of it, and then the setup for three. I just don't know what three might be.
See, so here's what I kind of feel. Cypher's the wild card. She's gonna be on Dom's team until they defeat Dante. That's how I
Well,
feel.
my biggest, I want them to explain why Gal Gadot,
Is back.
his character, is back, and also with Cipher, and
That yeah.
not
Well, she
brainwashed.
saved her. She had to save her because they weren't fighting Cipher yet.
They weren't, and bring
It's
back
kind of
another
a plot hole,
flashback. I
yeah.
swear to God, yeah, we're gonna
Kind of a
bring back
plot
another
hole.
flashback. They're gonna bring back a flashback where she falls out of the airplane, and Cipher is there for some reason, maybe as a staff informant on the
Yeah.
base where she fell off, picks her up, and is like, "Hey,
So I could see Jason Momoa being defeated in this next one, in part two. If it's a trilogy, that makes sense. If not, I can still see. If it's not a trilogy, then I can still see it, and the big bad is revealed to be Cipher. Not in a shoehorn level, but kind of clear that that's what it's leading to. The final race, I feel like, has to include Paul Walker CGI in at some point. I don't think it's fair for them not to have Brian and Dom defeat the final villain together, considering it started with them, it should end with them. If you choose to kill them both, I don't think it's the end of the world. However, I would like for them to have one final cookout, and it's similar to what they were doing in the first one, where it's just like, yeah, I think Paul Walker will be back CGI'd in this franchise. It's gonna be that final act of the third one though. Uh, One, you're gonna get the applause. Two, you don't want to overdo the CGI. The more you do the CGI and have them in these characters, the more it does kind of feel like, okay, we're only doing this just to keep Brian in. You want it to feel Brian's return. You want it to feel very special. You don't want to ruin it. It can only happen once. I think it makes sense to do it at the end and the big conclusion of this franchise of this the last film in the franchise that is going to officially end the Fast and Furious franchise. And that's one thing I want Hollywood to kind of bring back, is where some franchises definitively end. It's just like, because I remember when Harry Potter ended, how sad that was, how big of an ending that was. When Breaking Dawn Part 2 was coming out, how big of an ending this film's. And even with Star Wars, before it got its second, third run, I should say, in the big screen. The Fast family feels like they deserve a send off, and let's just not keep doing these. Because at some point, I want these characters to retire. I want them to move on and do other stuff, whether they have work or not. It's just like Vin Diesel, he's in the MCU, he can continue on. Jason Momoa is not going to have issues with work, obviously. Michelle Rodriguez, she's done other stuff. Same thing. Oh, Jordana Brewster, I'm going to be honest, I don't really know. But someone like Ludacris, Tyrese Gibson, they have never had issues of work. Even Song King, he joined Star Wars for a bit. So it's just like I want to see them eventually move on from these roles, and whether it's retire from acting because they've been committed to this franchise for so long, or they move on just to other projects, whatever. But I do at some point want them to officially end the franchise. I think these characters deserve it, and I feel like the studio deserves to move on as well.
Yeah, but you know more than anybody, especially because you do the budgeting and the financials about this podcast, that money talks.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Obviously, if these films continue to make money, they're gonna pump them out, and we will eventually get F20 40th anniversary.
We might even get a prequel, because we might even get like a young Dominic Toretto and a young Brian, maybe respectively, in their roles. Like we can get like a whole thing about why Brian likes the street race,
The problem
why
I
he's a cop, and everything like that. And I mean, of course, the respective roles are high. Like it's hard to recast a character, especially when that character is attached to an actor already.
yeah.
Um, I mean, you can say that about the Han Solo movie.
No, absolutely.
Even though he did amazing as a young Han Solo,
That was properly
everyone
adding
is
to the lineage
yeah,
of those characters. I'm not saying that I don't put that out of out of something they would do. The issue I have with that is that when you look back at it, go and watch the first Fast and Furious, and that's your origin story. That is why they do what they do. Obviously we know they have trouble past, but I can see them even doing a spin-off where it goes back to complete street racing. One thing, and this is completely again, and this time it's intended switching gears. I forgot to mention Brie Larson. We give a lot of Brie Larson. Well, I give a lot of Brie Larson hate because of
yeah.
her
I was gonna
role.
be like, who's we?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll own up to it. We give a lot of Brie Larson hate for her character as Carol Danvers in the MCU. I have always felt Brie Larson has killed it in every other role she is when she is not Captain
I
Marvel.
blame the writing. I've always
Absolutely.
blamed the writing completely. I think we both blame the writing completely, and we blame the PR
Yeah.
team, because there's clearly ways around how PR can be handled and what can be said. Again, we're not there. We're not present completely. This is all opinion,
Yeah.
and we could be wrong. But she did a great job
I
in this film.
agree. I agree. Again, and it goes to knowing your role within this franchise. complementing the characters that have already paved the way, and you can still give yourself enough error or enough room from the writers to allow your character to feel like it's not being robbed of screen time, because our supporting role characters, Brie Larson as Little No or Miss Nobody, Danielle Melchior as Isabel, and even Charlize Theron as Cypher. They all play smaller roles. And they had enough time to shine. Obviously, someone like Natalie Emmanuel, who is newer into the Fast franchise, she already has established and credibility to where she doesn't need to necessarily have the same amount of screen time as someone like Brie Larson or even Daniela Malchor's character, or even Theron's character, to fully flesh him out and feel like, hey, this is important. Cypher, obviously, she didn't have as much screen time, but because she has that backstory, but they expanded on it and they continue to add, to it.
Of course. Same thing with Momoa. Like, I think again they were written out. They were written out completely, really well. They stuck to the plot. They made him a very entertaining character and villain. And you see our cast, the main cast, split up, and I think it worked really well. And I'm back on. The last one threw me off, this one threw me back in. Um, there were some really great scenes. Again, the movie is directed really well. But I do have to praise. I mean, Lourdes Lerier, who is the director, got to praise him for handling the stunt work and the action sequences like that. There's a really fun scene on the bridge closer to the final act that reminded me of a previous scene from the other ones where Letty gets thrown across the bridge and Dom saves her. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
When he defies gravity. Similar situation, but in this time he has two helicopters attached to his car. I don't know how he was able to restrain those two forces, but they did. But there's a scene where the camera is right behind one of the villain's cars, and then it goes up and then it goes back down, kind of like a roller coaster. It goes up and then it goes back down, and then it follows Dom's car.
Mm-hmm.
And then the action sequence pulls up. But my favorite scene, you'll see this in the trailer, is when they're about a race. And it's kind of like going to that tribute to the beginning of where it all started. Street racing, the culture, the community. The little Mexican standout, they said, it's like, you may want to own and control the streets, but the streets stay the same.
Yeah.
And there's a divide there between the Momoa and Dom and the loyalty and everything and familia again. But it's when they're about to race and the camera goes from Diogo to Jason Momoa to Vin Diesel to Isabella. And I was like, that is I loved it. It was so smooth. It was so smooth.
Yeah, it was very nice. It's nice homage to the foundations of the franchise.
Yeah, I loved it. They're all posing and it's so cool. It was really fun. I thought I was going to come out hating this movie, but I really enjoyed it. And I think y'all should go watch it.
So before we wrap it up into the final thoughts, I do want to give some also credit to the director of Luis Leterrier.
Leterrier, I think.
Leterrier, there you go. That makes
I'm thinking
more
about
sense.
Leterrier.
Other than Fast X, he's also done Now You See Me 1 and 2, The Incredible Hulk, Clash of the Titans, Transporter 2, and the
so you worked with Jason Statham before then?
Yeah,
huh?
So he has. And then he did the horrible sequel, Wrath of the Titans. It's a horrible sequel.
Opinions.
That one's bad. The first one is amazing. The second
Clash of the Titans?
Clash of the Titans is great. Wrath of the Titans is the complete opposite.
He also directed that, right?
Yeah, he directed both. But again, it's just I can't help but I feel like we really see the fresh set of eyes within this franchise, and I feel like that's why this one works so well. Or not fresh set of eyes, fresh set of creative minds coming in and really going back to the foundations, really Going back to the roots, grounding this franchise, what I feel it desperately needed, what everybody feels it's desperately needed, from this franchise, just grounding them, sticking to the cars, none of this space stuff. But to wrap it up, closing thoughts on the film. I know you kind of gave them.
I thought it was really fun. Again, I was thinking that the last one really sold me off. I didn't really watch Hobbs and Shaw. I think I skimmed through it because I thought it was ridiculous. And also because I am not the biggest fan of Dwayne the Rock Johnson. I feel like he plays the same character in every movie.
You're
Um,
absolutely right.
and it just and I mean, even though he is entertaining, he is not as entertaining as John Cena. And just to close off my thoughts with him, he was brought back as not no longer the villain, but as Familia. But he was sidelined, not sidelined, but he was subplotted in the way where he played an uncle in the funniest way, in a supporting way,
He's
in
the
a way
cool
where he was
uncle.
still a baddie and he was protecting little Brian.
Mhm.
And even then, in his role, he had a reason to be there and wasn't just there to be there for screen time or for attraction. And he was very likable completely. I also have to love that in his first appearance, you don't even see him, but he throws a military agent halfway across the room,
It's
and
a
then we pan
it's a
to
pun.
him,
They
and
did that
it's the
on purpose.
hilarious thing ever.
Yeah.
And I texted you that, and I liked it, and I think, it's when we talked about before on this podcast when we mentioned that if a movie is bad, we describe it as fun.
Hmm.
You know what the Fast and Furious franchise is. Now go enjoy yourself.
Yeah. That's a really good way to put it. You know what it is. Now go enjoy yourself. Um, Really quickly, I'll give my closing thoughts, but also shout out to the cameos because we have Pete Davidson in this. We also had Debbie Ryan, Josh Dunn, who is the drummer from 21 Pilots. If you guys noticed any others that we didn't, I don't know if you noticed any more. Please let us know. Those are the three that I obviously stuck out. I mean, Pete Davidson is hard to miss. Debbie Ryan's hard to miss. Josh Dunn. If you don't know the band or if you don't know the drummer's name, you don't know who he is.
Who's Pete Davidson?
Pete Davidson.
Ariana Grande made a song about him, I think.
Yeah, the one who was dating, what do you call it? Kim Kardashian, too.
I'm kidding. I totally know who Pete
Oh.
Davidson is.
I'm going to be honest. I thought you were serious. But overall, like Miguel said,
No, I
uh,
know he was on SNL too.
yeah, he had his episode canceled. Um, but like Miguel said, you know what this franchise is. Go enjoy it because again, the writing was there. The action for the most part was grounded, but there were sometimes where it was insane, quote unquote ridiculous. It's just a good time from start to finish. And again, this is where we see the same things happening where Rotten Tomato hates it, the fans love it.
Yeah,
Um,
you might have a really high audience score because the from its debut, it debuted as a 53%, meaning it was rotten.
Yeah, it's currently sitting at a 54 with 169 reviews, and it's sitting at this is for the thermometer and an audience score of 85% of 500 plus verified ratings. Again, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. This is something I definitely want to see again in theaters. This is a film I can say, yeah, this is what the Fast and franchise is, or this is what it has needed to be. Uh, but yeah, I think yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I'm satisfied. I cannot wait for the next two if there really is a second and third one, or if there really is a third one. If it's just the next one, I'm happy with it as well. Um, you
Yeah, I
know,
want them to keep the energy that they have here and
yeah,
continue and apply it. And right now we're in gear one. Now we need gear two, and we need to close it off at three. Please.
yeah,
I don't think the franchise can survive and will be audience received if it continues past three,
I agree.
past 12. I think Adam made a good point. You got to learn to retire these characters and let them go, but let them go in a way where they have reason to go home. and there's a reason to park the car. You know, what more can you take from them?
Yeah.
Where else can they go into hiding? What other missions can the CIA give them? They've been to space. I think they're pushing boundaries. But this movie goes back to basics in the best way possible and doesn't get as insane or loopy, and it sets stakes for the characters, and it gets grounded in its plot, and you have a good freaking time at the same time, and you
Absolutely.
get collectibles.
Absolutely. I think you ready to wrap this up? It is
Yeah,
2 a.m. in the morning, and this episode is launching in 9 hours as we speak.
let's
Um,
go.
but as always, guys, thank you for the support. Since we have started the YouTube channel, brought back the YouTube channel, you guys have absolutely killed it, not only in the video, but also in the audio. I just want to say thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts. May 2023 is only... there's still 10, 11 days in this month, and has been our most highly downloaded month of all time, and there's still time that we're gonna only continuously break that record. We broke our record in June where we just absolutely, we had a bunch of downloads. We appreciate it then, we appreciate it now, and the month isn't even over yet. Kicking into the summer. It's just like we're
No, say it. You said kicking in the gear.
kicking it into gear. We're shifting into turbo. It's just like it feels like we're gonna be doing this regularly, where there's two episodes each week, for the foreseeable future, just because there's a lot of films coming on this summer. Again, we appreciate it, guys.
Yeah.
You guys are killing it. We appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel at youtube.com at our real addiction. As always, I'm Adam,
And I'm Miguel.
and this was episode 117 of Our Real Addiction, Sic Parvis Magna.
Sig Parvis Magna, everybody.